Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Word Balloon podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Word Balloon Comics podcast. Great conversation today. John Suntress here. Slightly different show than normal. Some San Diego Comic-Con content. It's the Killing Joke Press Roundtables. We had a chance to talk to the cast and crew of the Killing Joke minus Mark Hamill because week before Comic-Con he was at Star Wars Celebration in London, and I can appreciate not wanting to do two massive shows like that on top of each other. But we did get everybody else. We got director Sam Liu, screenwriter Brian Azzarello, producer Bruce Timm, and cast members Ray Wise, Commissioner Gordon, Tara Strong, of course, Batgirl, and the great Kevin Conroy, Batman himself. So very excited to talk to all of them. Great roundtables that were handled by about me and about 10 other guys at a table, although not everyone spoke. It was kind of interesting, but great fellow podcasters and bloggers. I think they all asked great questions, and I'm really pleased with the conversations we all had with the cast and crew, and I'm happy to share that for you today. Now, because it was a roundtable, there were also video stand-up interviews happening in the same room, so it's not pristine quality, but I am pleased to say that you can hear the questions and answers very clearly, I think. Amidst the din of the room. Occasionally, the PR guy was kind of traffic copping the room, so you might hear him over an answer or two. But I think all in all, you get great content about this already controversial film. It's been out in the screens on movie theaters on Monday and Tuesday of this week already. It's available digitally. You can get it, for example, at Amazon Prime Video and rent it for $15, which may sound pricey, but it is brand new. It's coming out on DVD and Blu-ray in the next couple weeks. And, it was controversial because, of course, it's an adaptation of that very violent, very dark story that Alan Moore wrote in 1987. And also there is a first act that kind of gives more screen time to Batgirl that has become controversial, both as a whole, in terms of some people think it was just kind of tacked on. And then, of course, I'm sorry, I don't mean to spoil, but it's already out there. Batman and Batgirl have an intimate relationship. And, man, I'll tell you, everyone is just all aflutter about this. She's Robin's girlfriend, Dick Grayson's girlfriend. What the hell's going on? Give me a break, would you please? You got to let these movies stand on their own. This is my 1 minute editorial comment on it. It didn't bother me. It really didn't. It's fine. Whatever. You got to, take these things on their own merit. I think Azzarello and I think the others in the cast as well explain that, first of all, The Killing Joke is a very short graphic novel, only 48 pages. And to drop somebody in the middle of the story that, you got to make it a first kind of watch. I mean, who knows whose grandmother or mom or girlfriend or boyfriend who isn't hip to Batman might, be subjected to this. I get why they needed to do that first part of the story. I'm cool with it. I got no problem with it. I rarely do on things like this. But I guess because, in the animated series, Batgirl was certainly younger. That might rub people the wrong way, that it might seem a slightly inappropriate relationship. In fact, I asked Tara Strong right away how old she felt Batgirl was in this project, and I think she gave an honest answer. I'll let you hear Tara's thoughts on it. And in fact, the whole cast and crew about this added, 10 or 15 minutes to the story to flesh it out to be a full-length movie. I like the movie. I think it's a fine adaptation. I think it's better than the Superman Doomsday adaptation, which I'll be honest, I wasn't crazy about. But I think it was a decent and strong Batman movie. When they take it literally from Alan Moore's script, I think both Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are at the top of their game. I think Ray Wise is a very effective Commissioner Gordon. And, of course, Tara Strong, always a strong Batgirl. I'm shrugging right now because, honestly, I really enjoyed it. But don't take my word for it. Listen to the cast and crew. We're going to start things off with Brian Azzarello, and we'll let you hear what I and the other press members that were at my roundtable had to ask Brian. So let's get things started now with Brian Azzarello on The Killing Joke and more on Word Balloon.
When you started to write the screenplay for it, what was the most important thing from the book that you wanted to carry over? Because you couldn't, I don't know if you could do everything with the time that you had for the running time of the film.
Actually, we had to add some stuff to it.
You did?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's 48 pages. You know, that was maybe we would have got a little bit more than a half hour out of it. So no, it was definitely the challenge was adding material to the Killing Joke that seemed like it was always in the Killing Joke.
The material that you added, though, how do you think fans are going to react to it? Because it's such a classic story.
Come on, you know how they're going to react to it. Yeah. Some are going to like it, and some are going to hate it. I mean, that's the way it works.
Fair enough.
You know, as long as they react to it, that's all I care about.
Yeah. Ryan, in recent years, this story has gotten a lot more controversy and criticism for the way it depicted Barbara Gordon's role in the story. Do you think any of those criticisms, that have come up more in recent years, due to women's depicted in comic and superhero comics and stories, do you think they're valid, or do you think they're misinterpreting the work? What are your thoughts?
I think they're valid, and it's something that we addressed. That's why the first third of the film focuses on Barbara Gordon. That's all new material. Because she was there to get shot in the original, and I think that stuff, just as we're looking at story structure, coming at it from comics, all you guys read comics, you know who Barbara Gordon is, there's a certain shorthand that exists in your mind, and it doesn't bother you. But if you don't know who that character is, and especially in a movie, it really stands out. Like, she's just there to get shot and then to cry in the hospital. All she is the daughter there. So there was something, fleshing out that character, something that was very important.
This is a hard R story.
It's R, all right.
Yeah, and are you satisfied with how far you were able to go? I mean, where do you think the line was?
They told Bruce, Tim, and Alan Burnett told me don't pull any punches. And in fact, push it, which is what I did. So yeah, it's definitely tonally it's very faithful to the original.
Does it have to be an hard R, do you think? Could the story have existed without going that distance in terms of as a filmmaker?
I don't think it would have been the same story. No? I mean, the pivot point in that story is hard to take.
Yeah.
And if you soften that,
sure,
really changes.
It is truly the one bad day.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
This is really one of the most iconic Batman stories ever. I was wondering if you ever saw that, they sort of ripped this story on South Park once. Just sort of how iconic.
No, I never saw that.
There was a thing on South Park where they kind of made a whole parody of that moment where Gordon's trip on the train ride. That scene was basically reconstructed in South Park as a gag. So I guess, what do you think of what is it about this story that makes it so iconic and classic that it's sort of it's part of the lexicon? That it becomes pastiche later on.
Well, it's so well constructed. I mean, and it is. Joker has a point. Joker's point is, I can understand it. That we're all him, save for one bad day.
He's almost not, the typical Joker, like utter lunacy. It's almost a very sane approach to sending someone over the edge. I think that's the menace that comes across in the story. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Dini recently said that the Joker isn't insane, that he's very calculating, and he knows what he's doing. And it is kind of, how's your interpretation of Joker?
No, he's crazy. I don't think No.
And where's Batman in the story right now? Where do you, are they...
He's crazy too.
When you started writing the story, I don't know if Kevin and Mark were attached yet, but how much were you hearing their voices? Because their voices are so iconic for those roles at this point.
No, I didn't do that.
Not at all.
Not at all. I'd sit there in silence. All I hear is myself because I'm talking this stuff through.
What is your Batman like? Do you just go lower?
and slower, lower and slower.
You enjoy doing animation, man? Or I mean, this is just, I don't know how many you've done so far.
Yeah,
Getting easier?
It's not. I enjoy it. It takes a lot longer.
Why?
Because there's a lot more steps in it. I mean, it doesn't take any longer
editorially,
for me.
or whatever they
I love writing a script and 3 months later a book's out. That's great. This is like writing the script and 2 years later.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
And immediately these guys get whisked away to the next roundtable, and that's kind of how it is. It's like volleyball. They're in a square for a play, and then you rotate to the next table. And we get about, in some cases 5 to 6 minutes, in other cases 10 to 12 minutes, depending on the person. So Ray Wise is next. And man, I am such a fan of Ray Wise. You know him, a great character actor going back to the days of RoboCop, of course, Twin Peaks, Laura Palmer's father. And we even get a little Twin Peaks Showtime news out of Ray, which is excellent. And because, it's always very strict. You're only here to talk about The Killing Joke. Don't ask about other projects. There's always, it's one of the reasons why, as time has gone on, I've kind of shied away from the press junkets because it's too many rules, and sometimes you just don't get enough time with these people. And you know me and Word Balloon, we like to have long, decent conversations. Today's Word Balloon is brought to you, by the way, by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League. You're one of the reasons why I was able to get to San Diego this year and make these connections and bring you this kind of content. And lots more content is coming in the days and weeks ahead. Certainly, as we wind out of July and head into August. You can hear it in my voice. I still have a little con crud. I'm not at full voice, but really could not have made the trip to San Diego without your help. Thank you for subscribing to Word Balloon. You don't have to subscribe, but if you've got the extra money, consider the content you get at Word Balloon that, frankly, you don't get on any other podcast, and I'm very proud of that. Because I don't know what it is, but I think all these years of doing radio interviews and podcast interviews, I can make a guest comfortable, and we get some interesting quotes from them as they get comfortable and have interesting conversations. Word Balloon is free. It will always be free, but if you want to help the cause, go to patreon.com/wordballoon, and you can subscribe right there, even if it's the price of a comic book, like $3 or $4 a month, or even just $1 a month. Greatly appreciated. Lots of new Word Balloon subscribers in the month of July. Thank you very much for your support. It really does mean a lot, and it helps me upgrade the equipment and make the trips and make the connections for the neat content we hear every week. So thank you once again, League of Word Balloon listeners. All right, let's move on now to Ray Wise. Tremendous conversation. I am such a fan of this guy. Actually, a great San Diego, great moment for me. I was at the Bayside Hilton where these interviews were taking place, but this was a couple of years ago, and was heading to my next panel. And Ray Wise sees that I have a press badge on and says, pardon me, you wouldn't happen to know where my panel is, would you? And I looked and I said, no, but I know you're Ray Wise, and I know you're awesome. And he laughed, and he said, well, thank you very much, and he shook my hand. And it was great to see him again. I didn't remind him of that because there's no time. Got to go right to the questions. No time. But, man, he was an excellent Commissioner Gordon. No surprise. He always brings an A-list performance. He was the devil on Reaper. You might remember that. In fact, one of the reporters mentions how much he loved Reaper. And I loved him as Don Hollenbeck in the Edward R. Murrow movie, Good Night and Good Luck, that George Clooney made. And had Clooney as Fred Friendly. And Don Hollenbeck was the local CBS news announcer that was on the blacklist and being threatened by communist red bait hunters out there. Excellent performance, and Ray Wise is just fantastic, and he does a great vocal performance as Commissioner Gordon. Let's hear him talk about it now. Ray Wise on Word Balloon.
Howdy.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Can I tell you how much I love Reaper?
Yes,
And how
please.
much I love you on Reaper?
Yes, I loved Reaper too.
Can we bring it back?
Oh, I wish we could.
I still love him from RoboCop. I mean,
Who doesn't?
I loved RoboCop. I could have played Reaper forever.
Is this your? I'm guessing this is nowhere near your first Comic Con, is it?
I think it's my fourth or fifth, or something like that. Yeah.
How's it been so far?
Oh, great.
Enjoyed meeting and interacting with
Yeah,
fans.
it's great to meet such enthusiastic fans, you know. Really, and knowledgeable. They know your stuff. I mean, these people are coming up to me and they remember stuff I did 40 years ago, and that's 45 years ago.
Is that daunting? Do you feel like if you mess something up, they're going to call you on it?
Maybe a little daunting, yeah. Maybe a little, I don't know.
Stalkerish? A little creepy?
Yeah, that. But then realizing how long I've been doing it and how old I'm getting, that's kind of.
So what appealed to you for Jim Gordon and doing Jim Gordon?
Well, it was a great script. I mean, the guy, that fella, just.
Brian.
Oh man, and of course I've been a big fan of Batman since I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I always thought that Kevin is the perfect Batman. Kevin will always be the epitome of Batman for me. Whenever he opens up his mouth, that's it.
Yeah. The thing about the Killing Joke is, though, it does go in different places than any other Batman story goes.
Yeah.
And specifically with Jim Gordon in terms of pushing him over the edge. How did you approach that in the script? In terms
Well, it was
of
very, some of the physical things that Jim Gordon was going through, I was trying to, of course, do
Emulate.
vocally, you know. And so it was a laborious process and one that was very demanding, and I had to make a lot of different noises and squeals and screams and grunts. And
He's put through the ringer, that's for certain.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Did you guys all record together, or were you individually?
Oh, individually. Yeah.
Did that? I mean, you're an actor, so you've gone through this, and you know what you're doing. But was it hard because so many of the scenes are so intense and so emotional, and the characters play off of each other? Was it hard to do that just sort of in isolation in the booth?
No, it's like everything else. You know, you imagine it in your head, and actors are very good at that. You know.
Had you watched Mark and Kevin do Batman and Joker over the years in animation? I mean, you say
I've seen them. Yeah, of course, and heard them. Yeah, absolutely. Mark is a great Joker.
Ray, we hear a lot of discussions about Batman's psyche and his mental state. But what about like Gordon, who's always been a constant ally and pillar for Batman to rely on for decades now. Mm-hmm. But like, what is his interactions, do you think, with Batman and Joker? What is he stable himself? Is he hanging on as well as he can? I mean, what does it say about him that he constantly allies himself with Batman, and what that causes him?
Gordon is driven almost to the brink in this one,
right.
and emotionally, physically, in every other way. And I think the Gordon we see in this is very much more of Gordon the father rather than Gordon the police commissioner. Right. Now he's the police commissioner in moments when he tells Batman that he wants everything done by the book, proper way, if it possibly can be done that way. But I think that he thinks it's probably not going to be able to be done that way. And the ending, you haven't seen it, of course, yet.
Well, I've read the comic, but I haven't seen it.
Well, compare the two.
The ending is,
compare the two, the book and the. Did you read the book in preparation beyond the script? Compare the two without spoiling, if you can.
That's hard.
Okay.
Our ending is a little different. And I.
Oh, it doesn't have that moment with Batman and Joker.
Oh yes.
Okay.
But it goes a little bit further.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Awesome.
Well, what do you think it says about Gordon as a person that in the comics he went through what happened here in this story, and then later on in his life, Joker comes back and murders his wife in cold blood. Mm-hmm. And Batman is almost driven to the point where I just have to end this guy, and Gordon's just like, no, it's not right. What do you think it says about Gordon as a person and as a man that he keeps that integrity?
Well, yeah, I think that's it. He keeps that integrity. I think he's the penultimate man of integrity, and doing things the right way, the legal way, and the moral way.
Does he have a stronger moral backbone than Batman does?
Yeah, I think maybe he does.
You think?
Sure. I think Batman. I think Batman is capable of a lot more than Gordon is.
And Gordon reins him in, do you think?
Yeah. And I think Gordon knows that, you know, and it's constantly...
So it's almost an essential part of the battle then.
Yeah.
Did your take on Gordon, did you look at other actors and how they played it, or do you know the characters enough that you felt comfortable playing Gordon?
Yeah, you know, I saw the movies, you know, and I like Gary Oldman, you know. He's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm not him, so I certainly didn't try to do an impersonation. I felt comfortable with the character, and I liked what was on the page. And well, you'll be the judge. You'll see it.
I think we got faith in you, man.
Ray,
Honestly, when we heard you were doing it, you know.
have you been on a set recently with Mark Frost and David Lynch?
Sure.
Were you just saying hi?
Yeah. And on pain of death, I can tell you this. We have completed 18 episodes in New Twin Peaks, all directed by Mr. Lynch. And they are being put together as we speak, and they'll be coming out, I believe, in the summer of 2017. So,
As a veteran of genre fiction, what do you think of the evolution? Because clearly we're at a place now that we've never been before. Do you feel that way as well as an actor?
yeah, I think so. I think all the different venues now that we for our products, you know, and Netflix and Amazon and all the internet, and how it's all these opportunities now for writers and actors and storytellers, you know, and I think it has just opened up a whole new world, and especially for actors, you know, the different way, you know, I can do things with my voice. I'm basically a face actor, but I love doing things with my voice. So, yeah, I mean, in genre, you know, they do remakes of things now, and some of them are okay, some of them I don't like so much. I didn't need that RoboCop remake.
Amen. No one did. No one did.
I didn't need
Was I the only person who liked that?
Yes, apparently.
Fair enough.
Get out. It's just like Laura Palmer said, I'll see you again in 25 years. Do you think David did this on purpose?
Okay. You mean was it a master plan?
Yes.
It's David Lynch.
No, I think he goes more off the top of his head a little bit more.
Thank you.
You know?
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on, we go from Ray Wise, and you're going to hear the passing of the baton from Ray to Tara Strong, a fan favorite. Man, from Raven on Teen Titans to, of course, her excellent Harley Quinn and her portrayal of Batgirl. And Powerpuff Girls, and so many other great voices. Tara Strong is really one of the best voice actors out there, and also a very lovely woman. And she came to play. Let me tell you, I got pictures on wordballoon.com of all the Roundtable guests, and Tara was just fantastic. And the video people, you know, she knew she was going to be on camera, so she looked great. And no, I'm really pleased. It was a great conversation. So pleasure to talk to Tara Strong as she talks to this giant press roundtable on Word Balloon.
I give you Tara Strong, her voice of Batgirl.
Oh yeah, you got
How'd you do, Pops?
Pretty good, Mark.
Bag.
Now you be nice to her now.
We'll try our best. Promising
Not
nothing.
like the last guy.
Tara, I guess some of the bigger changes to this story involve Barbara Gordon and Batgirl's role in the story. It's a 360 camera.
Oh, hi.
See, look. I'm remotely controlling the camera view from the phone.
That's really cool. I just noticed a sleeping child.
That's thrown you entirely now, isn't it?
And now she does.
I guess, like, were you familiar with, like, Batgirl's original role in the original story? And, like, a lot of people have been critical of that role in recent years. And I guess, what did you think of that role and how they made those changes and incorporated it into the classic story?
Well, I'm a huge fan of it because I feel like now Batgirl's the star of this movie. And it's so well written that the extra scenes are a seamless addition to the comic. And and it almost feels like when you're watching it that it was all part of the same original story. It's so geniusly crafted with the writers and the animators and all the actors involved. Like I put on my Twitter, I think it's my favorite Batman anything I've ever seen. I just think it's so well done, and I can't imagine anybody being critical of how they portrayed her after they see it. I mean, people are always hoping it adds up to the hype that people have it, and they're not disappointed. And I don't think anybody would be disappointed.
Did you read the original book?
No.
You didn't. So all you know really is
all I know is
this interpretation.
And part of that was nice because when the moments were happening, I didn't know they were coming, so I was on this emotional journey with her.
Yeah.
In retrospect, before coming here, I wish I had read it.
Sorry, you're a little bit tired of being asked that question.
No, I'm not. You're one of the few, but it's obviously important to know everything. But for my journey as the actor portraying Barbara Gordon, going through all these things, I almost feel like it was better to not know where it was going and then really feel those emotional moments with her.
How old is Barbara in this, do you feel? And generally speaking, I'm not looking for
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say 20s.
Okay.
I'd say early 20s.
With this story specifically, what was important for you to bring to the character? Like, that maybe we haven't seen in Barbara before?
Well, I would say for sure an authenticity with everything she goes through as an adult. It's really the first animated version of her I've done where she's a woman, and it's kind of been organic to my journey playing her. When I first moved to town from Toronto, I was playing Batgirl alongside of Hamill and Conroy, and I was totally starstruck and pinching myself. And then having gone through the years together, it was sort of just like no time had passed and suiting up, but at the same time, a lot has happened in my life. I'm a mom now and certainly gone through a lot, so it's just the darkest she's ever gone, and the darkest I think any of us have ever gone. So for me, it was just more like staying true to all those moments and things that she's going through. And when I'm performing those scenes, I'm picturing them in my head and imagining all those things. So sometimes you'll see, if you're watching an actor session, they'll be moving their arms or different things. And I was certainly tearing up during some of the scenes, and it's really emotional.
Yeah. What was your reaction to reading the script? Because this Barbara Gordon is different to pretty much every other Barbara Gordon on
really
page,
is.
and it goes so far.
Yeah.
Even in the comic, way far. And we haven't seen it yet, so we don't know how far it goes in this, but it's pretty far. What was your reaction to reading this? Certainly from off the back of Batgirls, where it's just straightforward action kind of.
I'd say it was shocking.
Yeah.
I can honestly say it was pretty shocking. I mean, she does things we've never done together before, and gone places she's never gone before. And
was that a challenge?
I'd say the biggest challenge for me would be just in hopes that the people that are real fans of the comic like what we did and like this interpretation. But in those moments, I think I really just zone out and picture where I am, so I don't think of it as like, was this a harder scene to do, or was this not? Because I'm really like in those moments, and then looking back at it, it's like, oh, I hope people respond to it.
Tara, you have some very interesting perspectives because you played, Barbara Gordon Batgirl, but you've also played Harley Quinn in the Arkham series, which takes Harley into some very deeply weird psychological place where she's equally obsessed with the Joker, and like at one point she convinces herself that he's pregnant with his baby, even though she was never really pregnant. He created like a false pregnancy in her mind. So, I mean, do you have this perspective of like maybe even understanding how you can both simultaneously love and despise the Joker?
Well, I think for Harley, and it's part of the reason people love her so much, is her undying devotion to this sociopath. Like, no matter what he does, she's completely in love with him, and the loyalty is off the chain. And so I think people are really attracted to her raw, authentic, emotional pull that she has with him, being that it's such a challenging relationship. I also cried when I was doing that. Spoiler, when the Joker dies, I was like... and it's awfully fun fun for me because Batgirl's probably the closest thing to my own voice that I ever do, and Harley is not. Thankfully, if I talk like that all the time, I'd probably have no friends. And they're so opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, she's just like, I always tell people, like, I go in and get all my frustrations out playing Harley. I had a session last week for a new game, and the director was like, I'm not ready for this at 9 a.m. Like, then I've done my job right. So it's definitely fun, and I feel really lucky to have been able to play both iconic characters.
I especially enjoy those moments in the Arkham games, like where like the goons actually start hitting on Harley, and Harley's like, "What are you're trying to move in on the Joker's turf?" Great stuff.
Thank you.
Kevin and Mark have said that this might be their last call as Batman and Joker. Is this your last call as Batgirl?
They're all full of poo on that.
Mark has said that about 20 times.
Yeah.
I mean, so you didn't go into this thinking this might be the last one for you?
No way. Hopefully it's the start of a whole new one. That'd be great.
Oh, that would be great. It's a story. It's supposed to be more of a comic, right, in this movie, so how much more will we see of Barbara Gordon?
Well, I mean, it would be amazing if this sort of spawned a new series that continued from there, and I'm sure after the fans see it, they're going to want that. And, you know, if we go into Oracle and all kinds of different places, I think it would be really exciting and certainly something a lot of fans could relate to, and just to have a role model like that would be amazing. That'd be cool.
Are you planting any seeds for a Birds of Prey kind of?
I think that'd be great.
Excellent.
I'm sure I don't have any original ideas that they all haven't thought of. I just want them to do it. That'd be fun.
You put the pressure on.
Yeah.
Is there a character beyond Batman? Is there a character that you just not you favorite, but that you just really enjoy going back to?
Well, for sure Batgirl, for sure Harley. You know, once you create a character in animation, you really feel like they're a part of you and they live up here and they come down to make their appearances, so it's always wonderful to go back to characters. It's certainly heartbreaking when you're not going back to a character and someone else's, especially when you molded that character. So I feel very lucky to still be playing Batgirl after all this time.
How about the evolution of attention now to this kind of animation compared to when you started with the character, you know, way back when?
I think social media is such an amazing platform for fans to say how much they love us and then for us to know how much we mean to them. I'm sure my predecessors have no idea how many lives they touched, but when you come to cons and you see people saying, you know, Raven got me through my parents' divorce, or that girl got me through my depression, or whatever it is, and you realize how much you touch people's lives, I think it's really gratifying, and I feel very grateful for my generation to have that. And just knowing like how much the fandom has grown for animation and how much respect the entertainment industry has for animation, and all the celebrities that want to do animation, and even video games. When I first started out in gaming, they didn't care to hire a quality voice director or what actors were going to be on, and now games are like film. So it's really changed a lot, and I think in a good way.
Tara, on any level, like Andrea Romano used to talk about how she finds the Batman character very sexy, and Kevin Conroy's voice is Batman very sexy, but playing Harley Quinn, on any level, like, do you find the Joker attractive or magnetic in his own way, or do you see why Harley would be attracted to him?
Of course, he's my partner. That was the dumbest question all day.
But what about you, Tara?
Well, yeah, because it's Hamill, right? How are you not attracted to that kind of talent? That's just that's a talent crush right there.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. Pleasure meeting you. Take it easy.
Okay, so literally, like one after the other, we had Brian Azzarello, Ray Wise, and Tara Strong. And then we waited for about 45 minutes to get our next guest because as that half of who was being interviewed was talking to the press roundtables, the other half were doing the video stand-up interviews, and those took longer. So there was a big lull in the room on the roundtable side while the video people were still kind of getting through their video interviews. So it was a while before we finally got to Sam Liu, the director of The Killing Joke, and this was great. He says that he, gets kind of shy, but we got a lot out of him, actually, and it was great to get his views. Slightly different than Brian Azzarello's views. I asked him that same Joker question that I asked Brian. I asked a couple of the other people that I talked to that same Joker question for a reason, to compare what everybody thinks. There's no right answer to that question. But, I mean, certainly Brian has it in his mind as he's writing the story. I'm sure that Alan Moore had it in his mind as he wrote the story as well. I think there are some moments in Alan Moore's original story and in this cartoon that speaks to my feeling where I agree with Paul Dini, in that I think that the Joker does know what he's doing. And that's kind of why when Batman really does reach out to him and says, can't we find some common ground? Do we have to get to the point where one of us is going to kill the other? Won't you let me help you? Man, especially when you hear Kevin Conroy talk about it. I really love what he has to say. But yeah, you'll get a different answer from Sam Liu. And Sam, a long time from storyboard artist to director, has really been involved with Warner Animation for quite some time, working on other shows too, like Extreme Ghostbusters and Godzilla and Ben 10. But in fact, even some Marvel work on the Doctor Strange and Iron Man animated films. So it's very cool to hear Sam Liu's perspective on The Killing Joke. Let's bring it to you now on Word Balloon.
So how the hell are you?
I'm good. I'm really bad at these interviews, and I get a little deer in the headlights. So, all right, perfect.
Tell us about the balance of obviously wanting to, honor the original source material, but making something too for a new audience.
So, I think as most people know, we're adding like a prologue to it, and so the source material is so iconic. I think we wanted, we had discussions of, how faithful do we stick to it, given how controversial it is, and I think that we would probably get into even more trouble if we weren't faithful to it, And so right from the start, it was. The mandate was sort of, we're going to be as 100% faithful as we possibly can to the source material, and the stuff that we play with is basically how do we sort of get into it from the prologue, I suppose.
Okay. Sam, how long have you guys at DC Animation been wanting to make this story into a motion picture? Has it been many years, or did it only come up recently that this opportunity came along?
It's been on the table at least 3 times that I know of, and so
going back how long?
I think
it's like the first DC animated universe movie, I think, was 2007 with Superman Doomsday.
Was it that, or was it? Okay, because I think production was a little bit before that.
Okay.
But around there. I mean, I think it's 2009, because I came back to DC. I think in 2008, I believe.
So that's 7-8 years ago.
Yeah. When I did All-Star Superman, I remember it was on the table, and Brandon, who did Red Hood, was originally going to do Killing Joke then, but they couldn't get. They decided not to do it, and so he got Red Hood. But when Red Hood was going to go into production, that was originally supposed to be the slot for Killing Joke.
Okay.
So that was the first time that I had heard of it. And then I think it came up again when I was on a series, but I wasn't in the home video stuff, so I can't give a specific date then. But then I just know that it came up again now, and we decided to go through with it.
As a fan on any level, have you seen this movie in your head? Have you dreamed of making a story like this into reality as a motion picture?
To be quite honest, I didn't think it would, and I think this is some of the feelings that like Bruce and some of the other people. I don't want to speak for them, but I think there's certain stories that work great as comic books, but may not work as well as as a film. I think my problem with this was like at the beginning of it, and I'm glad that's why we sort of put in the prologue, is because you start immediately with Batman going into the jail, the prison, or Arkham, and then has this really deep psychological discussion with Joker, and if you don't know Batman, if you're not up to speed with like kind of what's going, how dark this is, it's kind of, I think it's kind of abrupt,
Well, you're in the middle of the story, basically.
Yeah, and it's like, and if you don't know them, and then you're going through this whole sort of psychological, very deep personal kind of things with each other, and if you don't know these characters, you're not going to care, And so I never thought like on its own it would be a great movie, this is a tangential thing, but I'll try to make it real quick. I remember when I was at Marvel, there's a point where we were thinking about, like, what story do we do? And the Thor Beta Ray Bill story came up, and you guys are all familiar with that, right? And I remember when it came out, I was just like, oh hell yeah, like that's such a great story. But then when you're reading it, you're kind of going like, wow, okay, this alien picks up this hammer. Who's going to know that that hammer is, can only be picked up by the worthy? Like, a common person's going to be like, so what? And then like, am I getting bumped? Okay, so but then after that, you're like, okay, Thor gets beat up, he loses his hammer, and he's hurt, and he's crying, and then his dad comes in and gives him, like, okay, you fight again, he loses again, then his dad goes, okay, I'll make 2 hammers now, and then, Beta Ray Bill is like, I gotta go do this noble thing, and his girlfriend goes with him, so Thor looks, so again, like, I remember it being like this amazing, I can't remember, it was like 4 issues or 6 issues, as a kid, but when we were looking at it as far as like trying to potentially make it into a movie, I was just like, this is a horrible Thor story,
One thing that we've been talking about with the other interviews is just how far the tone goes in this particular film. Because this is a hard R. I mean, the story pretty much determined that from the word go. How difficult was it to determine just how far you could go in terms of tone and in story as well? I mean, where did the conversations sort of like lead you in terms of where you wanted to go with the characters?
Again, I think we. I think a lot of it was sort of like the controversial kind of things, right? Where we were kind of like, well, what do you think happened here? And what did you think happened here? And so.
Well, what was the vote at the end then? With the light with the flashlight, what was the vote in the office?
See, that's the thing is like I don't know if I should say, because I think I think really it's a thing where
subjective.
Some people will think one and they will defend it. Yeah. And other people will think the other, and I think that's great. I think it's perfectly fine that one person thinks one. So I almost feel like, I mean, obviously I wasn't the creator of the original thing, but so it's just my interpretation. So I almost think it's probably better if I don't say, because I think it's. And, people, they made their own decision, and I think it's strong enough to sort of validate whatever you think, kind of thing. So, but anyways, we had to sort of decide, or at least I had to sort of figure out, okay, well, Bruce, what do you say here? Or so we had to make it sort of like ambiguous enough where you could still, as an audience, ask yourself the question that this happened or that happened. But there was a conscious line as far as where to pull it. You know what I mean?
I mean, we haven't actually seen the film. I mean, is the question asked in the film about whether he did or didn't do it? I mean, because in the book, the discussion about whether that actually happened only happened pretty recently. So, like down the line, someone brought it up as oh no, you didn't read this right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, is it actually implicit in the film?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I don't think we tipped one way or the other. Right. Really, again, because I think we were. But I don't think we had an agenda to kind of go like, no, we got to prove that this is how it went. Yeah. Because I think we were very aware that it was a thing where did it happen or didn't happen. I mean, we have our own ideas of if it did or did not, but
But Sam, going back to what you said earlier, so when this film, gets on the plate and you're getting the gig to do it, how do you mentally rectify, your issues with the story and maybe not thinking it works best as a film, and what do you do to fix those issues and to make it more accessible?
Well, I mean. Again, I think the reason it's R is because it's a dark story, and I think,
and probably like many years ago that probably wouldn't have been possible. I don't think. Because
they didn't want an R, animated movie, but. I like the fact, I mean, as a creative, I like the fact that we can tell stories that about dark people. Right. Do you know what I mean? It may not be. Things that you want to necessarily deal with on a daily life and stuff like that, but I still feel like there's stories, as a creative that, is okay to explore. But I think a lot of it comes down to sort of like, the responsibility of sort of like, who's involved in it or what pieces you put into it, And I think kind of what we did, it's still a horrible story. I mean, there's no way around it. It's just a horrible story, But I think we were trying to flesh out who Barbara is and give her basically, who she's, she's a daughter, you know what I mean, to this person, to, Commissioner Gordon, obviously. She was, a sidekick, a partner with Batman.
She was a hero.
And he was a hero and she was a hero, but then sort of what were the events that sort of caused certain things to happen, and then what leads into the killing of her, So I think if people just have a problem with her being shot, at least that's being obviously the most controversial one. It's just sometimes there's stories where horrible things happen, you know what I mean? And as a device, is it responsible to use that as a device? Like, no, but that's part of the thing right now. So as far as like us sort of trying to remake this, potential mistakes and whatever, we're just trying to at least give her, like she's a person, she's not just a device,
One thing that I took away from this story that I love a lot is that it sort of explores a kinship between Joker and Batman, and the Arkham games are very interesting. They took some obvious cues from this story before you guys made the animated movie. And one interesting thing they did in Arkham City, there was a painting of Cain and Abel, sort of making it a parallel. Well, Batman and Joker are like Cain and Abel. And in some ways, they are they have this bond almost as brothers. Do you see that at all, or is that insane to make that connection?
Well, I think they're parallels in they're birthed from tragedy, basically. Like extreme tragedy, and one went one way and one went the other way, but they both very easily could have gone the same way as the other. And so I think there were, again, just these, people that came out of this, primordial stew, and one became the other thing. So I guess in that sense, I think there's a kinship, and now it becomes this philosophical debate about, what are we going to do about it?
Would you say Joker is insane, or would you say he's sane but has no morals and is very calculating, and even though he projects this manic persona, he knows what he's doing and is pushing the buttons on purpose?
Yeah, I feel like he definitely knows what he's doing. Again, that's just my take
Absolutely.
on it.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, I feel like he's like an iconoclast, basically, or an anarchist,
Sure.
He's somebody that is basically challenge, institutions,
Status quo.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole thing of the Killing Joke is like, what is Batman's thing? What is the head of the police? What do you stand behind? What are your morals? And what happens when, something, that bad day thing happens, or something that just doesn't work out? Now what do you have? Do you still stand behind these things or not?
Something that we were talking about before you sat down was about the strength of the artwork in the original book by Brian Boland.
Right.
It's certainly one of those elements in the original book which a lot of people remember. It's a very distinctive look.
Yeah.
What was the decision to go more towards the traditional animated adventures from DC away from the Brian Boland styling? What was the decision on that?
That's it.
Oh, this is it?
I gotta take you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That was a good question. It was one of those, and if I could.
I love Thanks a lot, Sam.
Thank you.
Not at all, man. It's all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Very funny. Hilarious. And that killer is...
Sorry, Leonard, that was a good question.
That was awesome. No, that was trust that.
Wasn't that hilarious? The Englishman in San Diego podcast, that's the guy who asked that question. And he does ask it again to Bruce Timm, so you'll get some semblance of an answer to that question. But very funny and nice chat with Sam Liu. I want to mention again that Killing Joke is available right now to rent. You can rent it among other places at Amazon Prime, and that of course reminds me to let you know that if you want to do any purchases through Amazon, would you consider doing them through the Word Balloon portal at wordballoon.com? I'm kind of weaving the commercials in this way, you can tell, but no, it's true. If you go to wordballoon.com and go through the Amazon portal there, make normal purchases just like you always do, But the price isn't any different. It's the same price, and Word Balloon gets a kickback, which is really nice. So it's just Amazon's way of thanking me for pointing our mutual audience to Amazon, and Amazon getting a chance to make some money off the fact that you're listening to Word Balloon and you're thinking of Amazon while you're listening. I'm making you do that by letting you know that The Killing Joke is available to rent through Amazon Video. I think it's $14.99 right now. I'm sure it's available on some other cable and satellite providers as well. The Blu-ray is coming out in 2 weeks if you want to order it through there as well. Lots of good reasons to shop at Amazon if you're an animation fan. I mean, they usually do have great prices on their Blu-rays and DVDs. And again, if you go through the wordballoon.com portal right there to Amazon through us, then Word Balloon gets a little money back for your patronage. So just a thought. Let's move on now to two of the big guns to wrap up. First, what an honor to finally meet and talk to Kevin Conroy. I even got to talk to him a little bit before the press conference began. Just a gentleman, and lives up to what Susan Eisenberg has told me about Kevin Conroy when we spoke. And, as he says, Mark Hamill is the guy who made him aware of The Killing Joke. But as always, Kevin comes to play and I think gives another exemplary performance as Batman, and really understands the weight of The Killing Joke and what makes it special. I still question Alan Moore's rejection of this story, because I really think that those moments between Batman and the Joker at the beginning of the film and at the end of the film, I know it's not the Joker at the beginning, but we think it is, and certainly Batman thinks it is at the very beginning of the movie. Those are really significant conversations that I really think, it's Holmes and Moriarty speaking to each other heart to heart. It's that kind of weight. Superman and Lex Luthor, when they've had their real moments. It's among those kind of great classic hero and villain, really, kind of letting their defenses down. And it's just really big moments. And also, Kevin clears up a thought that Hamill had kind of put in all of our brains, that this might be the last time for the two of them playing Batman and the Joker, which gave it even more gravitas. But Conroy's here to tell a different story. I will let him tell it now on Word Balloon.
The living legend himself.
It's like a mean Batman.
You get 4 minutes. We're going to whack your knuckles.
It's totally true.
Okay, sister, I'll be good.
Okay, so does Batman kill Joker at the end?
He has a reason. He's asking
There's one in every crowd.
However, there is a reason.
There is one in every crowd.
We had a conversation just then where it was very much an ambiguity.
Well, there is an ambiguity to it.
Is it still that ambiguity in the film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where do you see Batman in the stage of his career at the start of this story? Is he near the end? Is it just? I mean, I know that they're at wit, or he's at wits with the Joker in terms of. Yeah.
I mean, it's the ultimate struggle between good and evil. It's the conflict that everyone's been waiting for so long. And there's a scene towards the end of the movie I'm so proud of, where I'm just trying to pull it out of Joker. That I think the audience is really going to be happy with. I know I was happy with it, and I think Mark was.
I remember back with Arkham City, I think Mark said that would be his last time as the Joker. And then I think he also said that this story would bring him back one more time, but now he's also back in Justice League action. So should we maybe not believe him when he said he's going to be retiring his voice as the Joker from now on?
I think it was just that Mark was just saying that because I mean when he said it I was so shocked because I know how great he is at it, and I know how much he loves doing it. He was just saying that out of frustration, I think. I think that was a moment of frustration.
Do you think
because
he's
wanted
playing
to do
with the
more
fans?
stuff?
Is he playing with the fans again? Does he just like to play with the fans a little bit?
No, I know he's not playing with people because he absolutely respects the fans as much as I do. We've spoken about that a lot. The Batman fans are the most passionate in the industry. I mean, they're amazing. And we wouldn't have jobs without them. So I am enormously respectful of them. And I know Mark is. No, that came out of just his own personal actor frustration of
I want to play something else, you know. He had only been given that for a number of years, and he wanted to do something else.
So it's not a last call for you guys. This isn't a last call.
Not for
Excellent.
me.
Excellent.
I hope it's not for him.
Fantastic.
I mean, you've done a lot of different Batman stories at this point, and some of them have been original, some of them have been adaptations. Is there still a story out there that you really want to do that has not been done yet?
You know, I'm not as familiar with the Batman library as you guys probably. I really came to this as an actor.
Yeah.
Mark turned me on to The Killing Joke. I really wasn't aware of it. I thought, wow, this is amazing. So there probably are stories out there I'd love to do that I'm not aware of yet. I loved Mask of the Phantasm. But I still think it's the best Batman movie.
I agree.
Although this may take over. This may take over. But up until now, I think that was the best Batman movie.
I'd love to see you guys do The Death of the Family.
The Death of the Family?
Yeah.
I'll ask Mark about that. But I do want to do a musical. I think we got to do Batman the musical.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, think about it. Mark is a Broadway singer. I'm a singer. Tara Strong's a singer. We got so many voices in this
It's
show.
like sit right up, just knock it down.
It could be killer.
I think the one thing about the Batman, the Killing Joke as a story is, and certainly for fans, is just how far the story goes in terms of tone. I mean, this is a hard R animation at the end of the day. When you saw and read the script, and when you saw where they were going with the story, how shocked were you? I mean, in contrast to the other Batmans that you've done.
Oh, I was completely shocked.
Yeah.
Well, how are they going to do this? Because they hadn't decided to do an R rating.
Really?
Initially.
Oh, right. Okay.
Or if they had, they hadn't told me. I don't know. I hadn't heard about that. So I was going into it.
I mean, did it read like a hard R when you read it?
Well, it's very graphic.
Yeah.
And it's really rough stuff that happens in this. I thought, how are they going to do this? You know, they told me to just go with it, and they were going to work it out. I thought, well, they'll edit a lot of this out, I'm sure. I thought this is going to be edited out of this, and then they didn't. And they said, well, we're just going to go with an R rating instead.
I think,
which I really respect.
Yeah. That moment that he reaches out to the Joker and says basically, look, we might kill each other. Isn't there something I can do to bring you? Yeah, and I mean, is that a moment of true humanity? Did you play that for a moment of humanity, or is Batman being the ultimate cop and saying, hey, yeah, tell me about it?
Oh no! I am begging with him. I'm just trying to pull something out of him. I loved playing that section. What else I can tell you? I hope you enjoy it.
Did you slip in as Bruce Wayne? When you're asking that question, did you switch from Batman to Bruce Wayne, or did you stay
that's interesting, yeah.
No.
Is it the same person, or do you feel like, is it Batman at the core? Is it?
Oh, it's Batman at the core.
Okay.
It's absolutely. Bruce Wayne's the performance. I've always felt that. He's the artifice he puts on to face the world. He's most comfortable when he's in the cave.
And how about between you and Gordon, when it is, him saying, hey, you got to pull back, you're still a cop, or you're still on the right side of the law, and where's Batman's mind at that? Like, we got to destroy him.
It was so interesting working with Ray Weiss, having a different actor in that role. He's a wonderful actor.
Were you, because Ray said you weren't able to work together.
Last one.
Ray said you weren't, and so did you just have Ray in your mind then?
Because I knew that Bob Hastings, of course, isn't with us anymore.
Sure.
And I was wondering how he would do this. You're always imagining how the other actors would. With Mark, I know.
Right.
Because Mark wasn't there either. He was off doing Star Wars, which is the first time he and I haven't recorded together. Yeah, we're always recording together.
This is the first time ever.
That's interesting.
I think so.
Really?
Except, no, in some of the games we haven't, because they have to have clean takes. So sometimes in the games we be together, but sometimes not. But in terms of the interactive, the actor things, the TV shows and the movies, we've always been together. This is the first time we haven't been. And it was because of Star Wars. Okay.
Thank you very much. Happy birthday.
No, he can't. You guys don't listen. No. Broke all the rules.
That was so funny. Yeah, Conroy did try to get that happy birthday in for the guy, and I don't know if the PR guy kind of screwed it up or not. The person whose birthday is can only decide whether that was cool enough or not. But very, very funny. It's interesting, this final conversation with Bruce Timm. Some people are very passionate about the stories that they get to adapt and stuff like that. And then there's Bruce Timm. And maybe because the guy's been doing this stuff specifically for the DC Universe for 25 or 26 years now. But you can tell right away that The Killing Joke was, I don't think, any different than any episode of or other animated DC film that he's ever worked on. And it's an honest answer. We want honest answers. But I really do appreciate the kind of shrugging, like, yeah, all right, it was okay. Answers we got from Bruce Timm to wrap things up. But always interesting. I've only been able to speak to Bruce Timm at these press roundtables. The last time was the Batman Gotham Knight DVD, animated DVD that had all the different stories, including ones written by Brian Azzarello and Greg Rucka and Alan Burnett and a few others. But yeah, it's very matter-of-fact conversation with Bruce Timm to wrap up our coverage of The Killing Joke on Word Balloon.
How long has this idea been in your head that you could turn this into a movie? Was it only recently that it got into your head, or had it ever occurred to you many years before?
It's never been on my wish list. Of all the Batman properties, it's never been one that I was like dying to do. I've always kind of dreaded the idea of turning it into a movie.
Why?
Because it's not obviously cinematic material. I mean, it's obviously a very powerful comic, but it doesn't kind of tick all the boxes that a traditional Batman movie has. It's not an action story at all. Yeah. It's a psychological drama. Batman doesn't do anything in the story. He doesn't even like solve any of the crimes. I mean, you know, the Joker has to send him an invite to tell him where he's at, and then at the end of it, Batman doesn't win. So it's things that I knew it would be kind of a tough sell for audiences, but when we did decide to go ahead and do it as a feature, we made the decision early on to not quote-unquote fix it by trying to turn it into a summer blockbuster and give it a more, you know, slam-bang finale, or to make it more obviously cinematic. We thought, well, okay, it's famous for a reason. We need to trust the source material and just stick to it. And that kind of made it easier. It's like, okay, well, let's just turn all this into cinema as best we can. It's just not going to be an action film. It's going to be it's more David Lynch than Michael Bay.
Yeah. I actually got shortchanged a little bit earlier because someone got pulled away before the question got answered. One of the strongest elements of The Killing Joke is the design aspect, the art from Brian Boland in the book. In this, you've actually gone more towards the traditional DC animated adventures style, as it were, not so much towards the Brian Boland artwork.
We did as much as we could. Yeah, we did as much as we could. His style is ridiculously realistic in such a way that, I mean, there's not another artist in the world who draws like him.
Sure.
You know, of all the people who like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of people who draw like Neil Adams or draw like Jack Kirby. There's only one Brian Boland.
Yeah.
And that's a reason. There's a reason for that. We did what we could to kind of like put in little touchstones in the way he draws the ears or the way he draws Joker's teeth or whatever. It does overall more resemble like Batman the Animated Series than it does the more recent New 52 style movies deliberately. But we did, even there, we tried to make a distinct point of the characters, their proportions are more realistic. You know, Batman's shoulders aren't out to here with a little tiny waist and little tiny legs. He's more proportionately like a human being.
The YouTube, the fan trailer that someone's actually redrawn the trailer in the Brian Boland style. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, there you go.
No.
Fair enough.
But as you said, this was a challenge to do a more psychological animated film.
Yeah.
And talk about that evolution from really, 25 years ago when you guys started to where we are now in terms of the sophistication of stories and what you can do and get away with.
Well, I mean, for better or worse, things that are acceptable nowadays, even on like regular primetime TV, are unheard of. I mean, when I watch a show like Hannibal or even Gotham, it's like, even 10 years ago, there's no way that stuff would have been aireable on primetime TV, but you know, people have either gotten more used to it or they're becoming desensitized to it or what. I don't know. I myself am shocked, you know. And the whole idea of doing, you know, more adult-oriented, you know, feature films, animated feature films, again, that was unheard of. You know, even when we did our first PG-13 one, it was like, holy cow, really? So
liberating or frustrating? What do you think?
No, it's
or it just is what it is.
It just is what it is.
Okay.
You know, it's not like, oh, I've always wanted to do an R-rated superhero movie. I never really have, but whatever works for the story.
Okay. Was it ever a discussion to pull back and not do an R and sort of edit it?
Yeah. Oh, we talked about it, but from the very beginning, we told the home video people, it's like, okay, if you give us a green light and we make this movie, the subject material is such that we might very well get an R rating.
Yeah.
And if we have to pull it back to a PG-13, we'll probably compromise the story and we'll probably piss off a lot of fans. So we should probably go for the R if it comes to that. And they said yes, reluctantly, yes, we'll support that. It's not like we pushed it. We didn't go over the top with it. We wanted to like use our own barometer of taste and respect. But we did what we did with it, submitted to the MPAA, and sure enough got an R rating. And God love the home video people. They said, okay, fine, we'll go with it.
Do you think it's going to set a precedent? Like, do you think that they'll look, like, okay, now we've done it once, so it's possible, so let's think about what we can do.
Put it this way, I think it's possible. I don't think every film, this is kind of a special case because it's The Killing Joke. It's a famous comic.
Yeah.
There's actually not that many other Batman stories that go this far.
No, it's really true. It's really true. So, but if we ever do end up getting another R, and then the home video people look at it and do the numbers and go, well, maybe, maybe not. So it could happen. I don't think it's the new paradigm.
Bruce, now that it's done, it's here, it's going to get a pretty sizable theatrical release next week, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Tickets are selling well. I mean, is this one of your most proudest pieces of work as an animator and storyteller?
You know, that's really hard to say. At this point, I'm too close to it. I think it's really, really good. I'm proud of it. I'm quite proud of it. Time will tell whether it actually is one of my better things that I've been associated with or not. Because, like I said, at this point in time, I'm just way too close to it. I can't tell.
I'm just so happy to see it, finally happen. Because I think I myself, as a fan, have wanted to see this for years, and I think many fans would agree.
Cool.
We're very excited.
Awesome.
Have you any thoughts on doing any of the Scott Snyder stories?
Of what?
The Scott Snyder run? The new
I'm actually not that familiar with them. I honestly don't read a lot of modern comics.
Okay.
But
what do you read?
I don't read hardly anything. Sorry, I'm just really.
Who are the DC characters you haven't had a chance to play with yet that you'd still like to?
Oh, I don't know. There's a bunch.
Okay. Really? No Silver Age things coming to mind right away?
I've gotten to play with most of my favorites, but we'll see.
Something tells me comics are not, certainly while you are obviously an appreciator of them, they're not at the top of your personal choice.
I go home, I watch reality TV. I do not even watch scripted television.
Step away from
I watch Storage Wars and Project Runway because I don't want to think about storytelling much.
Fair enough.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank
you.
Thank you so much.
So there you go. Later that night, Comic-Con had the premiere of The Killing Joke on Friday night. I didn't see it then. I waited until I got home and I watched it at a movie theater. I'm glad I did. I thought it would look great on the big screen. The woos that you get at Comic-Con in Hall H or at these premieres, it's fun for the moment, but sometimes you miss the dialogue. And frankly, I was happy to watch it back in Chicago with a regular movie audience that was very excited to see the movie. And for the most part, as we all walked out of the theater, I heard a lot of positive things, a lot more positive than what I heard online. Because as I say, there's a lot of people that don't like that Batgirl, the entire first act of the Batgirl segment. There are a lot of women and men that are complaining about the inappropriate Batman-Batgirl relationship. They're both over age. It was, whatever. Relax. I don't know, man. I guess I've been into this for so long that I'm just like, yeah, all right, that's fine. And if I disagree, okay, no biggie. I liked The Killing Joke animated film. I hope you will see if you like it as well. I mentioned before, we've got SpeakPipe now on Word Balloon to voice your opinions if you'd like. And feel free to use it. Click on the front page of wordballoon.com right there where it says voicemail. And you can, via SpeakPipe, leave me a direct message. People already have done that with the Judd Winnick episode that we just had, and I hope more people will take advantage of it, and I'll hear from you directly. Tell me what you think of The Killing Joke. Tell me where I'm my head's up my ass in that I don't care about this Batman-Batgirl relationship that they've created for this movie. I'm at this point, so many of the animated films are their own thing that it's just like, okay, tell the story. If it works, great. Like I said, back at Superman Doomsday, it really did kind of soften the story in a bad way, I think, the death of Superman's story. The way they handled Doomsday and the aftermath of Doomsday as well. It didn't have the gravitas, certainly, that the reign of the Superman did in the comic books. Whether they could have done that or not in the movie is another story, I guess. But all these animated films continue to fascinate me. I think they're in excellent hands, whether it's Bruce Timm as the overall producer or our buddy James Tucker as well. I just think these guys are pros up and down when you consider the great Alan Burnett, our buddy Heath Corson, Sam Liu, Bruce Timm, Brian Azzarello, everybody involved in The Killing Joke, Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Tara Strong, everyone that has been doing the Batman stuff, the Superman and Justice League cast, indeed. I just think it's great stuff, and we're really in a fortunate time that so much good product is coming out and continues to come out. So I support it, and whether it succeeds or fails, it's no different than any TV or movies. You're going to have great ones. You're going to have singles, doubles, triples, and home runs. Some people might think this was a single or a strikeout. I thought it was a triple. I thought it was a very positive triple. So that would be my critique of The Killing Joke. Thanks for listening. More great content coming up before the end of July, and more great stuff right here from Word Balloon. Still got to give you my panels from San Diego. There's another press junket that I can't wait to share with you. Just cleaning things up, giving you the best audio I possibly can for all of that stuff. The panels turned out great. There's one more presser that I'm going to give. I'm not even going to tease what it is, that the audio is slightly not as good as what you just heard. But I still think if you're a fan of this franchise, I'll give you the initials, Star Trek. I think you're going to be pretty happy with what I've got from the Star Trek people commemorating their 50th anniversary. So keep listening. More great updates coming from San Diego and other great conversations from Word Balloon in the days ahead. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2016.